You have that desire just to prove yourself, and you kind of always ready to show the world what you can do. You can't sit on the sidelines and wait for someone's going to ask you to dance. You kind of got to get up in their face, I think.
Hey everybody, Mark Arinsberg here with The Pure Now Show. This is episode number 30. My guest today is James Cross. James is a creative director at BBC Creative in the UK. He's been partnered up with Tim Jones for over 15 years, creating award-winning campaigns, coming up from the bottom all the way to the creative top. Here we go. Hey James.
Hi Mark, how are you?
I am super duper, thanks. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. It's quite early here, but everything is good.
Well, let me first say thank you for coming on the Pure Now Show. Totally appreciate you spending some time to chat with me and talk about your professional career and everything that's kind of going on with you. You evidently started in the music business before you did much. And it sounds like you had some fun for a little while, not doing a whole lot, but being in an environment, music. You were obviously super into the music scene.
Yeah, sure.
How did you get there?
I've always loved music. Growing up, I was fascinated by Creation Records and a guy called Alan McGee, who signed bands like Oasis, who were hugely popular. It wasn't necessarily I love the music, but I was always fascinated by the business side of it, and always thought it was super cool that you could, have an office job and wear sunglasses all day if you really wanted to. And I worked there as a student. I used to go in once a week to Pop Tones, which Creation Records closed down and became Pop Tones, and they were in London. And there I was just making tea, and then I worked at a label called Shifty Disco Records, which everyone was generally pretty high all the time. So my office hours were 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. And I think my dad realised that this was no way to be. And I think at one point it was costing me more to go to work than I was actually making in a day. So I decided, having written I used to do lots of press releases for them I've got no training in that. I just confidently took that job on. And that got me a very strange interview with a chap called Mike Johnson, who gave me my first ad agency job. I didn't really know what advertising was, or certainly what the business of advertising entailed at that point. And I left Shifty Disco on a Friday night and started at B&B on Monday morning.
Wow. Shifty should have been the giveaway.
yeah, it was chaos. But remarkably, they still kind of exist. So,
wow.
Yeah, more power to them. Yeah.
So you went into the field of copywriting, and how did you mature in that? How did you become inspired to continue down that path and become, more in charge of the creative scene?
Yeah, I suppose I started off writing sort of local, what they call dealer ads for Saab, the Swedish car brand. So it's kind of low-level-ish work, and I suppose I learned the trade by becoming very nerdy about it very quickly. So, a party trick of mine was always, every D&AD annual from say 1990 to 2005, I could pretty much tell you where certain pieces were, what page they were on, who wrote it. So I studied other people's work. I would read avidly and lift phrases out of books, and I'd learn that way. And obviously Mike Johnson was a real mentor who really was quite strict on me in many ways, and it was really good. The other way I suppose I matured and within as being a junior, I was made my business cards were always said senior copywriter on them, because I was teamed with an art director who was 20 years older than me, and he didn't want me going into meetings with a business card that said junior copywriter on them. So I had to grow up very quickly. So I suppose I was seen as maybe more experienced than I actually was. In those early years, I wore glasses that I didn't really need to make me look slightly older. And, I've always been a believer in kind of fake it till you make it. So it carried me through with, this self-confidence that I was able to sort of bring to the fore we were presenting, and, certainly served as well. But my ambition was always to work in TV, and this was doing, like localized car advertising for, like I say, Saab. We did some for Vauxhall, which is another General Motors brand. And, it went well. We were able to do a little bit of TV. And we were just, I suppose, we were just aggressive at the time in terms of, we were the agency that did all the small stuff, and we'd regularly meet with Lowe in London, who were doing all the sort of the big sort of brand advertising stuff, and challenge the client that can we have a go at this? Can we do it? And eventually we did break through and change the agency. Really, they were quite lethargic as an agency at the time, who were working on Saab at that brand level. I've always, I suppose it's maybe not being in London all the time. It's, you have that desire just to prove yourself, and you kind of always ready to show the world what you can do, because when you're not in London, or you're not in New York or whatever, you kind of have to, I feel, fight for those opportunities as a junior creative. You're not working on the sexy brands. You're kind of doing the shit that nobody else wants to do. So where in itself are opportunities. But so we've always, Tim and I, especially since we've been working together, have taken that very seriously, and that's always got us in the right rooms with the right people. It's all about attitude, which I think success in the creative industries really is.
Well, like you said, you guys are zigging while everybody's zagging. So,
Yeah, we stole that from BBH, but yeah, some people
like to
say that.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's the approach. It's kind of studying what everyone else is doing, making sure what you're doing is unique to that sector at the very least. But yeah, always being the sort of the awkward apple that doesn't falls far from the tree.
I think you've kind of passively given a lot of advice, and but I want to be more direct in my question about providing advice to, let's say, younger people coming up in the creative industry who have aspirations of becoming creative directors. It's obviously a much different world now than the world you started in, but those young people are starting in this world that's current and present. What advice do you have for people who are interested in creating TV commercials, in getting into the real visual industry and making impact through marketing and advertising? What's a good approach for them, especially since there's so much competition now, and just the fact that there's millions of portfolios online. I mean, before everything was a physical, one-off, one-of-a-kind. I remember looking at hundreds of portfolios, but that was all of them. It wasn't millions, infinite numbers of them. How does someone differentiate themselves and create that opportunity for themselves?
I think, there's so many talented people, but I think the people that always catch my eye are the persistent ones, the ones that you can feel the hunger in terms of, I'm lucky enough to get many messages every day saying, can you give me a book crit? And to be honest, I get so many, I ignore most of them. Certain days I ignore all of them. But it's the names that keep popping up. They think, okay, he hasn't replied, I'm going to try again, or I'm going to try a different way. I'm lucky enough to have teams have accosted me in the street. They've waited outside the BBC. They've called me on the phone. They've just done different things, or they've done something that makes them stand out. If you're a creative and you've got your online portfolio and you think it's me in the portfolio, that's enough. It's often not, unless you are, lucky enough to get an interview. It's getting your foot in the door, and you've got to be creative in how you do that. And there are so many ways, but you can't. Well, certainly that works on me. It's when someone is not annoying. I mean, sometimes people are so annoying. I think I've got to give you an interview because this effort you're going to is amazing. And it goes back to what I say about effort and your willingness to sort of push things. And I think people being persistent in contacting you or creating something to get your specific attention shows remarkable effort, and I'm impressed every single time. And I can almost guarantee that if you don't get a session with me, I'll certainly, the senior teams, I will delegate to them or to the creatives that run our placement program at the BBC. You'll certainly see them. But if your approach is to send a random email with your portfolio attached and then never follow it up, so does everyone else. Shock horror. There's every creative director will be getting 10 of those a day.
Right.